Hello, I'm Dustin Perry. I'm the CEO of Kingfisher Metals. We are a public company listed on the Toronto Stock Exchange, Frankfurt, and the OTCQB. And we are a BC-focused exploration company created by geologists with a very singular purpose of making discoveries. And we just made a discovery at our Goldrange Project, which is a district-scale high-grade gold project in southwestern British Columbia. The future looks bright, and we will be doing a more aggressive drill program next year to test the rest of this anomaly that we just scratched the surface of this year.
Dustin, good to see you here.
Yeah, good to be here.
First time in London, or have you been here before?
Not since I was a kid.
Okay. Really? Did you live here?
No.
Just a visit. Okay,
my family lived in Sweden for a year, actually. I was very young.
Oh, very good. Okay. Well, welcome to our sunny shores. You're here at the conference, meeting investors and potential investors. How's that going?
It's been busy so far. Yeah. Dealing with jet lag and then having about around 10 meetings yesterday.
Yeah.
Plus all the evening activities.
Yeah. It's tough, actually. The jet lag gets you every single time. Hey, and what sort of investors are over there at the moment? Is it kind of retail or institutional, corporate?
There's a couple retail investors, mostly institutional.
Yeah.
And then I'm also meeting a lot of pre-existing shareholders over here.
Right. Have you got a lot of European coverage?
So one large fund is involved, Commodity Capital.
Right.
But Tobias is in Vancouver, so can meet him there. But we've got a lot of kind of investment clubs per se from Europe that came in prior to listing and then on the IPO round as well.
Okay, cool. Telling the story, pressing the flash, all that kind of good stuff. Hey, so what's going on with the share price? It dropped off from like 50 plus cents down to about 34 double quick times. So either someone doesn't like it or a group of people don't like it. Is it from the flow through guys or what's happening?
We haven't determined that yet. It's been a little tricky for me to deal with that. We'll begin meetings since I got the news. Yeah. Looking into that though, clearly somebody wanted out, whether it didn't hold up to their expectations or it was just a liquidity event. Regardless, it looks like we've shaken out some weekends and brought in an equal amount of better hands who now have a lot of upside because we've de-risked the project. We've made a discovery. From a technical standpoint, that news was excellent. Yeah. So I'm okay with that.
Yeah, it's discovery. Okay, not many people actually make discoveries. It's
no, and a grassroots discovery too.
Right. So it's kind of good news. And I kind of want to sit here today. I don't want to kind of dig into too much. I want to talk about what you've managed to achieve this year and how that informs what you're going to do going forward. But just on that fundraising thing, I think it was about 4.6, 4.7 from memory. Flow through money is great. But when it's 100% flow through money, it can cause you problems like this. So are there lessons learned there, or is that deliberate, and what can we expect next time around?
The majority of that was actually charity flow through, where we pre-arranged the back end, and it was the institutions that came in on the 25 cent IPO.
Explain the difference for people. So
charity flow through, basically somebody that buys the share price at a premium. I believe we got a 41% premium to the back end price. They then donate it to a charity.
Yeah.
They get the tax credit from that. Yeah. Then the charity sells it back to the back end buyer at a discount, and they make money on that as well. So it's a win-win-win. But it has to be spent on exploration like flow through.
Right. Okay. Nice complicated structure.
Yeah, and there's companies that facilitate that transaction as well. Right. But it's a very good model for BC or different Canadian provinces as well, where you can take advantage of that. The flow-through component is different though.
Right.
Because they're not buying the back end.
But do you think that structure contributed to what we saw over the past few days?
I think it could have. I don't think it was all of it though.
Right.
Likely some other group wanted to get out.
Right.
But I don't have enough information to speculate too much.
No,
yet.
I guess it's early days, but it's kind of interesting the way small companies need to be very careful about whether they structure the share register, the type of investors, the number of investors, and that kind of ultimate blend of investors. Because with overhangs, with a company of your size, it's a big impact. It can be a big impact. But for us, you're concerned is you've got rid of the weaker hands and hopefully got some better investors in.
Yeah, and the new investors now got a great deal because we've de-risked the project.
True.
The concept has been proven, so there's a lot of upside for them now.
Okay, well let's talk about what you've been up to, because we saw you earlier in the year, back in July. So what's been happening since July through to now?
So I believe we hadn't started exploration on our other two projects at that point. So we did. I'll get to that. But at Goldrange, we completed just shy of 5,000 meters over 14 holes.
Right.
We hit broad areas of mineralization near surface, and then we released one high-grade interval, the 9 meters of 6.88 grams per ton. One thing I want to clarify is a lot of people have been interpreting it because it was a long ways down a hole as though it was really deep, but these holes were drilled parallel to the slope of the mountain. So it's only about 150 meters from surface. Okay, and there's no reason to believe that it doesn't project to surface either.
Right.
We didn't see it at surface, but it doesn't mean it's not there. But the program went really well. We were really impressed. Charlie Gregg, one of our lead advisors, he was out there and really impressed with just the scale of alteration and the evidence for it being a large gold system, and the fact that we only tested 10% of the anomaly bodes really well for there actually being a large gold deposit.
Yeah, I mean, kind of worth digging into that a little bit in the sense that people kind of throw the word district a lot. They go, there's district what? There's going to be a huge scale, etc. Without actually informing us as to what they mean by that, because everyone's got different measurements. So what do you mean by it?
Yeah, well, I think a lot of the time it's just a catchphrase.
Yeah.
And that's one thing as a company, we're geologist driven. We're not, I guess I'm a promoter now, but it's not where I came from. And all our projects, none of them were location plays. We're looking in frontier areas in BC, hoping to make new discoveries, because that's where value is really created. And these projects are district scale because there's evidence for there being potential for multiple discoveries. And at Goldrange, we've got numerous targets around the project, but occupying 1% of the project approximately is our cloud drifter trend. And then of that, we only tested 10% of it, with relatively wide space drilling. It wasn't, we weren't pin cushioning it.
So when you're approaching something like that, 5,000 meters, it's not a lot. So how do you come about, how do you approach that? Because you've got to do it in a way which informs you to be able to work out where to go next, etc. Because money at this level it's tight, it's relatively expensive, right? So you've got to be really efficient here. So when you give us those numbers, I'm like, crikey, you can't know too much about what you've got in front of you, and even less about how you then go about proving up the district. It's going to take some time and some money.
Yeah, exploration doesn't come quickly, especially when you're in new areas. A lot of projects have been recycled over and over again. This is not the case. This is the first time anybody's drilled here, and it was relatively unknown.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, we had to answer some geological questions, had to build a structural model through 3D modeling, which is ongoing over the winter. But we also had to focus in a smaller area to increase our odds of, an area where we had a lot of geological confidence and we knew we would hit gold mineralization. Yeah. Don't know what grades it will be, but we played it pretty safe. There's a few adits within this trend that we didn't drill test. So there's a lot of low-hanging fruit too. Right. But part of when you're doing a first pass program like that on a project, you don't want to hit every single one of your best targets. You need to leave something in your back pocket too.
Why is that?
Well, you always want to be able to fight another day, or live to fight another day. And you don't want to rush into drilling all these really good looking targets without having a good understanding, because then you might miss them and that might kill a project.
Right. Okay.
So it's better to focus in my opinion, it's better to focus on a smaller area where you've got a better understanding, so it's less risky, and then prove the concept. Hopefully you get good grade, which we did, and then expand upon that, taking that knowledge.
Right, but that one drill, it was kind of unusual, 6 gram, right? That's not what you're after, is it?
Well, we expect to see grades similar. So we took 312 rock samples across there, and they averaged 6.26 grams per ton.
Right.
So that's better than the average. There's definitely higher grade as well.
Right.
And we did hit some 14 and a half over a meter. So there's definitely high grade hits in there too. Ultimately, we'd like to hit broader zones of high grade as well. And we expect to, just given the statistics of hitting a blind body like that. Within that, there was some high grade intercepts.
Okay.
So meters of 11 grams.
So you're saying it is typical, because we've seen other grades from lower grades from trying to work out what people should be buying into. Clearly, it's exploration, so you're going about it systematically, cautiously, and make sure you don't waste money. I get all that, but what type of ore body are we looking at?
I think in that 6, I think it's going to be an underground, and I think you're going to get structures like that. I think we'll find a lot more like that. What we're really excited about is the fact that we're seeing a large volume of rock that is anomalous in gold. Right. Half a gram it's nothing to, it's not, it might not be ore grade, but it's a lot of smoke, and we're seeing it over a broad area, and something is feeding that, and that's what you're looking for in structural deposits. You're not looking for a broad disseminated thing like a porphyry, say. Yeah. You're looking for the feeder, the plumbing, basically. Yeah. And the 6.88 grams, that we don't think that's the plumbing. It's getting closer. Okay. But we expect to find some really good grades once we really sink our teeth into this.
So how are you going to go about this? Because you raised a bit of money earlier in the year. You've finished this drill program, right? It's 5,000 meters done. And now it's sitting back and just working out what it tells you. So how much money have you got left?
Just over 5 million.
Okay, so you're kind of good for another round of drilling?
I'm sure we could pull off a drill program, right? But we've got a long time until the drill program starts, and gold could be above 2,000 by then. So we also have another 10 drill holes to come out. So it's way too soon to commit to anything, or you got to play it by ear right now. Okay,
but you're the kind of company that's going to be drilling for a long time, right? So again, I'm just trying to say, because we talked earlier about the type of share registry you want, and you've shaken out some weak hands. We think, we don't know, you're going to work it out, right? Some new people have come in, but it may be off of I don't know what. But going forward, you're going to need you need to help investors work out what type of company that they're going to be investing into, because there's lots of models out there, etc. So you were raising money consistently in the market after you have proven up whatever it is you're proving up in terms of this district-wide play. And you'd say that you're hoping gold goes up next year. I think everyone is.
Yep.
And you'll be raising some money at some
point. Gold is
point.
at a really high price right now. Just the sentiment isn't there. But.
Well, I think that's right, isn't it? You'd be happy at these gold prices, quite frankly, doing business.
They're amazing,
right? Yeah, absolutely. But the equity that's not being reflected in the buying. So
no, across the board too.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. For sure, it's kind of bizarre actually. But I think the expectation is 2022 is going to be a little bit different. A lot of pressures, a lot of brokers talking about it as well. So 5 million now. When would the next set of drilling start? When will you conclude your thought process?
So we could start as early May.
Okay.
So we do have a bit of a leg up on northwestern BC on the Golden Triangle. Way less snow where we are.
Right.
So that, we'll see what we end up doing. I'm not committing to a start date yet until we've got a budget sorted, and we still have a lot of drilling to come back. But I am certain we will be drilling around this breccia body that we hit, much tighter spacing, hoping to actually prove something out there, and then testing other targets.
So how many months a year can you drill?
Well, May, June, July, August, September, October, so probably 5.5, 6.
So half the year drilling, and the rest of the time you can't. You've got a plan.
You got a plan.
Wow. Does that make you want to maybe find another asset somewhere else in the world where you can be busy?
I've considered that, and I was on weekends. I was looking at a few things, and I talked with a few of our large shareholders, and they weren't too keen on that. And then
spending money.
Well, it was more just changing the story,
right?
And it wasn't. It was mainly just so we could have news in the winter. But I think we've got our hands full. We've got 3 projects. We did a significant amount of exploration on our other 2 projects as well this year.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that. You've got Extol and Thibert. How do you pronounce it?
My dad always corrects me. It should be Tibert, but we call it Tibert.
Okay, well, tell us what you've been doing there.
So at Tibert, Tibert covers 25 kilometers strike length along a major fault, there's a placer district centered on there that's been producing since the 1870s. At one point, I think there was close to 1,500 people living there before 1900. 200,000 ounces have come out of it. They're still mining. So we did a detailed stream sediment survey and an airborne magnetic survey over that, and we're currently evaluating that, and we'll do work there next year. We're not going to drill it next year, but I'm a firm believer in you always need insurance in this industry, so you always need to be lining your back pocket with more targets. Absolutely. That's why we did a big regional program at Goldrange too. And then at Extol, we've actually done quite a bit of work there already. We flew a property-wide VTEM survey in 2019 in our first year as a private company. And that outlined 40 targets. The first one was the only one we went to that year, and we found an outcropping VMS with grades over 3% copper. So what we did this year was a ground gravity survey on our 2 top targets that already had very nice conductors, and basically just getting those to the point of being drill ready.
So I mean, copper's an interesting one because likewise, I think it's going to be a good year for copper next year. That's what it should have been this year. And it was for the price, but not the equities. The sentiment's not there, as you said quite correctly. But gold plays, totally understand what you do. The copper plays, you need to get them to a certain point and then work out how the heck you finance these things, because it's a slightly different market for that. A good one, but different. Where do you want to take Extol through to? Is it something that you think, well, actually, we can move this point to a point where we can flip it out? Actually, we can move it through to development. I mean, what's the end? You're an explorer, right? So
we're never going to develop anything. Right, okay. That's not the intention. We're not doing anything drastic with it now because the sentiment isn't there. It's we've done a fair bit of work, so the claims are good for some time, and it's a valuable asset. We've already been approached by majors on it when we were a private company, actually. So we're entertaining the idea of a spinco with that, and potentially finding another copper asset in BC to put into that. We might drill it ourselves. Also might bend it or do a JV with another company. Yeah. No intention of doing a JV on Goldrange. No. Goldrange has some royalties on parts of it, whereas Extol, 0 royalties. Right. So that gives us a bit more optionality. Okay,
I can understand that. So your approach when you're private, so is there a thought process about what you need to do to this? Have you got the stomach to have to go out and raise capital for that project, as well as Goldrange, which obviously you talk about district-wide, because you must be cognizant of, well, we need to mitigate risk in terms of asset risk, jurisdictional risk, all of those wonderful things that you need to look at as a small company. Wouldn't it be better to get someone in there now and have a piece of it and let them run that?
It could, but I think we can also increase the value of it by doing low-cost exploration, which is exactly what we've done with these gravity surveys. So this information hasn't come out yet. We're starting to get a fair bit of it back, but I held off on releasing any non-material news prior to drilling. My view is the perception would have looked pretty negative if we were putting out good results from our second and third project prior to drilling. And even that with the regional data. We've got the bulk of our regional data from Goldrange is still yet to come.
Right, okay. And I'll just finish off on the share register thing again, if I may, because I want to sort of clear it up as best we can. Is when you have big shareholders, because you've got a few, you've got a couple of corporates in there, and obviously you've got a few institutional guys in there. Would you expect them to come and talk to you if they were looking to flip out? Or obviously they can do what they want, but relationships, you'd expect them to walk up and say, hey, we've got some other stuff we need to focus on. We're going to get rid of this. Can you help us place this? That didn't happen in this instance. If it was a one or two institutions.
No, and I talked with most of them.
They always say, of course we will.
I had a good chat in between meetings with Dave Cole from EMX yesterday.
Good guy, yeah.
Talking about the geology, and and he's pretty excited.
Yeah, no.
So no, I would hope that we would get that. I've put as much time and energy into being as transparent as I can with this company. So, and being available.
It's a funny one. When you're in this position, you go, if you're looking to sell, come talk to us. We'll help you place it.
Yeah.
And they smile at you and they say, "Of course we will," and then don't. I don't know what's happening in this case, but I just, in terms of people looking in at you, there's only so much you can do.
Yeah, some things are out of your control.
Yeah.
And that was pretty harsh the other day. Definitely landing with jet lag, had my tail between my legs at first.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is we've made a grassroots discovery, which is very rare with that amount of drilling.
Right.
Sure, expectations might have been very high, but the fact of the matter is you don't make a newfound gold discovery every day on the first drill program. Yeah. That's incredibly uncommon. I've never seen anything like that in my career. But doing something like this is big. Like the team is very happy and very confident that we're onto a large gold system. So we just need to drill more, right. And take a few years to do that. Yeah. But there's a lot more to be found.
Brilliant. Okay. Well, appreciate you coming in today, Dustin. That's fantastic. Good to see you on these shows. More assay results to come. Come back on and let us know, what you've found there when they do, because it's a nice little story, advancing it quite nicely. And I say you're excited. We're a little bit excited too. So see you soon.
Sounds good. Okay. Cheers.